Padmasambhava is the patron hierarch for the guruship of Guru Ma. So at Church Universal and Triumphant and at the Summit Lighthouse, as you know or are just discovering, we hold Elizabeth Clare Prophet in a certain regard. We have very high esteem for her in the same sense that the Hindus revere their siddhas and gurus and so forth. And so she's the head of our church. Additionally, we've been instructed back in the day that the Church Universal and Triumphant, was established by both Jesus and Buddha. Okay? That's official church doctrine. Jesus and Buddha founded the church. So we can't be said to be Christian in the typical sense. We're not Christian in the Catholic sense or the Reformed Christianity sense or the fundamentalist sense, where some people might consider us to be Christian, and some among us might consider themselves to be Christian, certainly, but we're also Jewish and Islamic and so forth. However, when you look at the structure of the church and you look at the basis for the theology, it's important to consider that Jesus and Buddha were, basically appointed Elizabeth Clare Prophet as head of the church. So we're Buddhist, in addition to everything else. So that's important to know. But Padmasambhava, who is a figure in Tibetan Buddhism, is the hierarch or the patron of Elizabeth Clare Prophet's guruship. And when you uncover that and you look at it, it does make sense that it would be Padmasambhava, because effectively Church Universal and Triumphant is the distillation of the best parts of the entirety of world religion. And I believe that that's our principal path, because when the Buddhists and so forth and the various Hindu sects and the Christians who are at a certain degree of attainment or at a certain degree of dissolution, unfortunately, when all of those different sects want to know what is the best path, I feel that we are a repository for the best parts of the information, and that's what we claim. Mother does say that it is really up to each individual to establish his or her own path. That's true. However, it's also fully appropriate to adhere to a guru in order to achieve attainment, certain levels of attainment, and so on. So when we talk about Padmasambhava being and this is official church doctrine as I uncovered it, it's actually there in the writing. That makes a lot of sense, because the Tibetan Buddhists are tied up in Terma, which are certain kinds of revelations, holy revelations, and I will embark onto a discussion of Rinpoche and try to give you additional details as I am able to convey them to you. But the Tibetan Buddhists shouldn't be operating in a vacuum, and I don't believe that the best of them do. I believe that the most advanced Tibetan Buddhists really do want the purest forms of information, and I believe that CUT claims to be the repository for that information. I think that a lot of light bearers are drawn to Elizabeth Clare Prophet for a reason, and I believe that the prana and the energy coming out of the great central sun is drawing the holiest people and the holiest chelas among us. It doesn't matter who you are, and Elizabeth Clare Prophet taught that too. And I think that in the later parts of your chelaship in particular, you will realize everybody should have access to the true teaching, but certain kinds of chela are going to make it there in advance of others, and that's just the nature of the game. But if you want access to the true teaching, whether you're a Buddhist or Hindu or Tibetan Buddhist or following the Dalai Lama or a Roman Catholic or very adherent in your Judaic path, you should consider Church Universal and Triumphant to be the repository or a source for your unfoldment, or a manner in which to facilitate your unfoldment. I do believe that. I don't think that we necessarily have to think of CUT as being entirely distinct from all of the paths. Some people will recognize CUT as being a very individual path with a specific teaching and a specific dharma. And early on in your chela-ship, or in later stages of your chela-ship, certainly, you will come to realize that it's okay to see Mother as Satguru. That's another message that I think is very important at this juncture. I will talk to you about that down the line, and more information about that is coming in the video recorded teachings that I'm editing now. Padmasambhava as the patron saint, or the patron rather, of her chela-ship does make sense, because we do claim to have the true teaching, and the Terma texts claim to be the true teaching, the true Dharma, the Sanatana Dharma, as opposed to you might be in a conversation with your friends about chakra law, or I don't know, theories about the star seeds and so forth, and each person might have a different opinion about that. And of course, it's fine to have your own opinion. And I believe that the message from Padmasambhava is there is a moral teaching and a moral truth, and not everybody has to master the entirety of the scriptural canon and the doctrine, the Hindu doctrine and so forth, as Church Universal and Triumphant has vetted it. So if Elizabeth Clare Prophet says that the third eye is green, we all adhere to that, then it's green for us, and that is chakra law, as opposed to saying red. It wouldn't make any sense in our Sangha to say that. What I'm here to say is, that's fine if you think that it's red. It's fine that if you think that it's red, but you might be, in your thought forms, as you adhere, as you're trying to find a pure path to God, part of establishing that connection through the Dharmakaya, the crystal cord that is mentioned in Ecclesiastes, is limiting your acceptance of all information. So it could be that in some sanghas, in some Buddhist sanghas and so forth, that the third eye is purple or red or whatever color. But in our particular sangha, we say that we are the true path, and we say that it is green, and so we adhere to it as being green. That's very much a specificity that the kind of specificity that is imparted by Padmasambhava. So that's why it's entirely appropriate that Padmasambhava of the Tibetan Buddhist tradition is the patron of Mother's guruship. We want a specific path. And as I mentioned before, I don't care, and I don't think anybody cares, as long as you're a moral person, like what you believe. But your body and your mind is like a computer, and so is your sangha. Your prayer sangha is like a computer, and the more codified you folks are within your sangha, the more effective your prayer work will be, and the more effective of a path you will have to the higher self and the Dharmakaya. And prayer does yield benefits, and it does when you're able to find God out there in the universe. And that's part of my teaching, I think, as a member of Order of the Diamond Heart, someone who has been studying Mother for a while. And my path has been different from a lot of the chelas at Church Universal and Triumphant, because some of the communicants and the keepers of the flame have followed the traditional path through the quote-unquote teachings that are the paid teachings and so on, where you graduate to various levels within the church. And I haven't done that deliberately. My life is a fairly ascetic life, and I don't have a lot of money to spend on lessons and courses, and I'm not disparaging people who take the lessons and the courses, and the keepers are very important, a very vital component of the church, and the communicants are a vital component of the church. But there also exists holy orders, and one does not have to be a keeper to be a member of holy orders. So I have been able to initiate a number of teachings and a number of thought forms as a result of my adhering to the Dharma as it has been delivered to me by way of holy orders. So that's an important distinction. And I'm able to uncover information that you would not necessarily uncover by working with the pearls and so forth, and ancient pearls and parts of ancient history and so on, that you would not necessarily know about based upon the Summit teachings that are crafted by the people at Summit University. And I think that they do a very good job at Summit University. But as the church continues with its unfolding, I believe that it's important to pay attention to holy orders as well. So, Padmasambhava, that is why. It's the specificity of Tibetan Buddhism and the desire of Tibetan Buddhism to achieve a certain level of codification within their Dharma that is the reason that Padmasambhava is considered to be the patron of Elizabeth Clare Prophet's guruship. So I'll be working with that in depth down the line, certainly. And we had we were talking about, I believe I mentioned earlier, we were talking about leprechauns. I should pull that information up. Fairies are acknowledged, Church Universal and Triumphant. A lot of people might find that somewhat of a surprise. We do believe in elementals, and by somewhat of a surprise, I mean that for two reasons. One is, CUT people are very religious and very adherent, and sometimes in the United States we believe that CUT people are adherent and religious because they're part of a cult. That's not accurate information, but it is out there, and or that we're sort of traditional fundamentalist Christians who, I'm not sure, are just will follow whatever it is that the leader says. And that's not true. It is true that Elizabeth Clare Prophet is the messenger and that she's Satguru. But, a lot of people have disparaged us, I believe, because we're New Age. We attempted to establish our own homeland effectively, and did to a certain extent and will. We're not done, but we will be done once I am relocated to Montana. It's just very Hindu. You can look up, I believe that it was Argentina, or I can tell you actually right now who it is, who did Summit University in 1978 licensed a piece of art. Actually, this was published by Summit Lighthouse in Colombia, a piece of art of Guru Ma. And it looks like it's Guru Ma in front of an adherent, and it looks like a Chinese or Japanese tapestry. It really does, but it's really Guru Ma there, and you can tell because she's got like the hair that she had back in the late 70s, but she's sitting in the lotus position and with a certain mudra, and there's an adherent back to her, so you just see the back of the adherent. It's probably a male adherent, and then it just says Guru Ma at the bottom, but it looks like a piece of Japanese tapestry, and it is quite lovely, and it looks like it's coming out of ancient history and so on. So my point with that. Well, we were talking about Padmasambhava, and in any event, Guru Ma is the center of our chela-ship. someone was asking me earlier, and I will continue on this line of thought. Some chelas, depending upon your attainment is important, and that's one of the part of the teaching that that emerges from the work and the writings of HPB, Helena Blavatsky, that Guru Ma is at a certain level of attainment, the chelas are at a certain level of attainment, and depending upon your level of attainment, you graduate to increasing levels of authority. And it's not just authority because it's self-appointed authority, it's authority as in alchemical authority. And if you achieve a certain level of alchemical authority, you're actually able to be the mediator between the entirety of the Dharma and a particular group of chelas. So if I'm at a higher level of attainment for whatever reason, I will be able to impart to you information that I have received, and you will look at it and receive it as authentic information A, if I choose to deliver it in that fashion. But I also have, but one also has the ability at a certain level of attainment to delimit the primacy. In other words, I am going to be handing you this information for the first time, even though I've encountered it maybe 20 times or 100 times. Information about the 12 stars in the coronation of Mary. If I impart that to you now and choose for you to receive it, you're receiving this information for the first time. It could be the case that in other scenarios over the course of history, you have read that, or other chelas have read it a million times and already understand it. But if you're at a certain level of attainment, if you're at level 9 and the other chelas are at a level 8 or 7, I'm not talking about the levels that is necessarily taught by the traditional church hierarchy at Royal Teton Retreat. I'm talking about the levels as established by Madame Blavatsky, truly. Then if you're at a lower level, you will receive that information as if it is divine information for the first time, but it's coming to you by way of a higher initiate. And that's part of the teaching as well at this juncture. That the guru has the ability to set boundaries on the information. If you receive the information, it's because the guru has permitted you to receive the information truly. If it's a valid guru, that's how it works. That's a major secret that I'm imparting right now, and you didn't have to go to, as Mother says, have a master whisper it into your ear. You are hearing it right now from me. So, well, I am the master whispering it into your ear. In other words, I suppose. So, right. Correct. Okay, so that's true about the sanctity of information and the guru being able to sanctify the information. But yeah, right. So there are the gatekeepers, and if you believe that it's holy and you hear that it's holy, it's because the guru has said that it's holy and he has delivered that information to you. That is true. And then it is with the revelation with regard to Mary, the Fatima information. Well, there is a Fatima dispensation and a Lord dispensation and so on. Mary does come to us and does reveal information to us. And the question is, well, are we going to believe the person out in Croatia or the person out in Japan or wherever in the Midwest of the United States and not be able to locate the true source, which might be a source that is not recognizable to you, right away, or it might be a source might be coming from someone who's suffering, for instance, or in an ashram in which that person, doesn't feel safe or comfortable, sort of thing, and yet has the true connection to Mary.